I'd like to reconvene the meeting and call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of August 4th, 2020. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cordero? Here. Councilmember Moats? Here. Councilmember Soto? Here. Councilmember Waterfield? Here. And Madam Mayor Patino?
Here. Our City Attorney, Mr. Watson, could you please give the closed session report?
I am pleased to announce that on a unanimous decision, there was an excellent review of both the city manager and the city attorney, and a step increase pursuant to the contracts were honored.
Thank you. Our first item this evening is a proclamation, and Councilmember Waterfield will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, aka the International Bill of Rights for Women, was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in December 1979. And whereas the spirit of CEDAW is rooted in the goals of the United Nations to affirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of human person, and in the equal rights of women and men. And whereas the United States is the only industrialized nation to not yet ratify CEDAW, and many other cities have called for ratification of CEDAW by the United States Congress. And whereas on November 6, 2018, the Board of Supervisors of Santa Barbara County, State of California, demonstrated its commitment to women's rights by passing and adopting CEDAW. And whereas the City of Santa Maria affirms its support of the United States ratification or accession to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Now therefore, Alice Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby supports the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in the City of Santa Maria, and encourage residents and businesses to take a legitimate role in affirming the importance of CEDAW in the community. And this will be mailed to the Santa Barbara County Commission for Women. And to be perfectly honest, Madam Mayor, this is the first time I ever heard of this organization. I never heard of them before.
I think they started, did it say 79?
Yeah, 79. It says, yeah, 79. And so I was just amazed that it's just coming to the forefront.
Thank you very much, Ms. Waterfield.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is public comment period. Madam Clerk, would you please read the criteria for the public comment portion of the agenda?
Madam Mayor, we actually have no speakers this evening. So I believe we could move right along to,
Okay.
if Mr. Stillwell has anything.
So, Mr. Stillwell, do you have any comments? You wish? Okay. Moving on to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 3?
The following routine items are presented for City Council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. The consent calendar is approved by roll call vote with one motion, and these items are discussed only on request of council members.
So does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion?
If not, Madam Mayor, I would like to adopt the consent calendar as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Moats?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto? Aye. Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
And Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Next, we have a presentation. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will receive a presentation by Eric Daniels of Pacific Gas and Electric regarding the company's wildfire safety plan and safety power shutoff program.
Thank you. And Mr. Stillwell, can you do the introductions?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. So periodically on our agendas, we do have community presentations for our partner agencies to be able to provide updates to the City Council and our community about issues important to the city. Tonight, the community presentation will be by Eric Daniels of Pacific Gas and Electric regarding the Community Wildfire Safety Program, including the Public Safety Power Shutoff Program. Eric Daniels is Public Policy and External Affairs in the San Luis Obispo Office of PG&E, and is here tonight to walk through a presentation and answer questions that the council may have.
He's here. Okay.
He's here too.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Mr. Daniels?
Mr. Daniels, can you hear us? Mr. Daniels?
Yes, hello.
There you are. Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. This is Eric Daniels with PG&E. We'll make the best of this new form of meeting, won't we? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move forward. I have quite a few slides to go through, and I'm going to try to make it as fast as possible because I know that you have limited time. I want to thank you for having the time to meet with me, or letting me meet with you today to discuss Community Wildfire Safety Program. Today, I want to talk to you about what we at PG&E are doing to reduce the threat of wildfires locally and throughout our system, and also an opportunity for us to work together to improve the Public Safety Power Shutoff program into 2020 and beyond. How do I change the slide?
Are you using your PDF?
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Just want to start with a quick safety message. We understand the importance of keeping the lights on, especially given the current shelter-at-home orders with COVID. We're determined to do everything possible to address the impact of COVID, the pandemic, as well as the threat of catastrophic wildfires. Our overriding goal is to ensure public safety and that PSPS is an important goal in doing so. And to do this, we realize that this is an evolving situation, especially with both the pandemic and the potential for PSPS at the same time. And so we want to work to continue to adjust our work as necessary to deliver safe, reliable energy and to keep the customers and the community and the employees safe. Our community wildfire safety program includes short, medium, and long-term plans to make our system safer. We're going to be making some public safety power shutoff events smaller. That's our goal. Shorter in length and smarter for our customers, and we'll talk a little about that in a slide or two later. We're going to be installing some new grid technologies to help us improve this. We're going to be hardening the electric system, replacing some poles, replacing some wire with insulated wire where it makes sense, performing enhanced vegetation management as well, making sure that there's clearance around our lines and that trees have less of a chance of falling into them. We all rely on electricity and everyday life, and we want to work together with our customers for solutions that can prevent wildfires and keep the community safe. High temperatures, extreme dryness, and record high winds have created conditions in our state where any spark at the wrong time can lead to a major wildfire. More than half of PG&E's area that we cover, where our customers live and work, is at high risk for wildfires. You can see on the map there the Tier 2 and Tier 3 elevated and high risk areas. With the increased wildfire threat our state faces, PG&E is enhancing and expanding our efforts to reduce these risks, and we'll talk a little about that here. So coming closer to home, we can see Santa Barbara County here. On this slide, we have provided details regarding the electric infrastructure and the critical facilities for our area. Here you can see the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission High Fire Threat District maps for the area, for our county. The CPUC developed these maps in coordination with CAL FIRE, and they are based on input from electric companies, communications, infrastructure providers, and local public safety agencies. The map shows an area of high risk for the wildfire. So the high risk area in Tier 3 are in the darkest red areas. And you'll know that in those areas, we do not have that much in the way of development except within the PG&E territory. Now in the Edison territory on the southern flank of the county, it's a different story in the red zone. But for the PG&E zone, where our service territory is north of Solvang and north, we our greater populations are not quite in the red zone, but they are in and around the gold zone, so the elevated risk area. And when we come closer to Santa Maria itself, you see that your city is not even surrounded by a high fire threat area. However, it's important that you know that, and we'll talk about this in a few slides later, that just because you're not in a high fire threat area does not mean you would not be potentially captured in a PSPS, public safety power shutoff. We'll talk a little bit about how that happens later, but just as a teaser, it's because if the power lines that are bringing power to you pass through a territory that is in the high fire threat area, and the weather conditions in that area are of danger to the grid, we may have to take that piece of infrastructure out of commission, and if we do, that could affect downstream customers such as the city of Santa Maria. On this slide, we have provided details regarding the work we conducted in 2019 and the work that we're targeting for 2020. So just kind of giving you a flavor of all the work we did. We did a lot of work in 2019. So of course that means that in 2019, there's not quite as much because we've done a lot of catch up already. But we still continue to do some sectionalizing devices in the area and also always the vegetation management because of course the trees continue to grow. Also some weather stations we're going to talk about. To improve our weather forecasting capabilities, PG&E is continuing to develop our own network of weather stations to better predict and respond to extreme weather threats. But we also use weather stations from other entities, and here you can see the difference. The red ones are third-party ones, and the blue ones are those that are PG&E's. We're adding approximately 400 of these new weather stations for a total of 1,300. By 2020, that's our goal, and that'll be a density of a weather station roughly around 1 every 20 circuit miles in the high fire threat areas. That's not just in Santa Barbara County. This is our system-wide numbers. More than 765 new weather stations have already been installed to date. So just over half of what our goal is by 2022. Further sharpening our ability to more accurately pinpoint where severe weather is likely to occur. And of course that goes to telling us and educating us as to where a potential PSP is going to be. If you're interested in signing up for alerts regarding PSPS so that you yourself can get some information and the public can as well on the potential for them. We have this website here called cloud.em.pge.com/PSPS-7day-sign-up. And that you can sign up on and you'll get notifications about what the pending weather patterns are looking like. So you can monitor as well what if there's any threat for PSPS in the area. And high definition cameras are something that we're still working on and for this area. So that's not something that's yet on the, to add more on. There is already a third party one there, but we're relying more on the weather stations than the cameras. As part of PG&E's high effort to prevent wildfire, we are strengthening the electric system to further reduce the wildfire risk. We're hardening the infrastructure with stronger poles, as I mentioned. Somehow I'm on the wrong slide. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to go back there to this one. Sorry. Number 10, if you're following along. Okay. Depending on the factors, such as the number of affected customers and available locations, there may be multiple customer resource centers. And this is something a lot of the communities have asked us about, so I wanted to give some special attention to it today. On this slide are the details regarding the proposed CRCs in our area, Santa Barbara County area. Note PG&E is revamping our approach to the CRCs due to the COVID pandemic. Working with counties to secure outdoor sites. We had originally looked for outdoor sites, and then we looked for indoor sites, and then the pandemic occurred, so we've gone back to the idea of we may need to have outdoor sites so we can implement the social distancing that might be required if we still are in a pandemic situation, if we open any of these in the area. So we're encouraged to inform you that the county OEM has been working with us on helping to identify these sites. We've passed these sites by them. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they've endorsed them, but they are aware of them, so that we're trying to coordinate so we don't duplicate other sorts of resources that might also be using these sites. Sorry for the snafu and the back and forth. Now I'll get on to where I started. As part of PG&E's efforts to prevent wildfires, we're strengthening the electric system to reduce its vulnerability to the severe weather. We're hardening our infrastructure with stronger poles, as I mentioned, and insulated wires on the poles, and also in certain areas targeting undergrounding. Now, I don't want folks to get excited about the undergrounding. That is something we're implementing in some very strategic places, and to be honest with you, it's mostly happening in the highest threat areas where we've already experienced many PSPS events. So I do not anticipate we'll start to see much of that hardening taking place in our area in the near future, but it may be in the long term. We have also expanded and enhanced our vegetation management work. This includes addressing vegetation that poses higher potential for fire risk. Our enhanced vegetation management work includes the following. We are exceeding state standards for minimum clearances. We're clearing to the sky limbs and branches that might overhang our wires, so they will have less tendency to drop on them. We're conducting inspections to remove hazardous vegetation such as dead trees off to the side of our right-of-ways in those areas where property owners will allow it, where we can work with those property owners and they'll give us permission to remove those trees for them. We're also evaluating the condition of trees so we can identify if they're tall enough to strike their health, and if they're tall enough to strike a line if they're outside of our easement area. And then we'll work with those property owners to try to convince them to let us remove those trees for less susceptibility of damage to the lines. Now I'll get into the actual PSPS. I'm on slide 14. And how a PSPS works. A PSPS, I think I just want to say at first, is you're all used to having experienced what we call unplanned outages. So an incident happens where perhaps a tree falls into line, or there's a car pole incident where a car might hit a pole and take some power out in your neighborhood. Those are unplanned. We don't know when they're going to happen. Our crews rush to the scene to try to address them and restore your power as soon as possible. In a public safety power shutoff, we anticipate that there may be weather that is dangerous for the grid to operate safely. And we learn that through that weather system that we're monitoring the weather. When we identify that, then there's a potential for a PSPS. So it's not an unplanned outage, it would be a planned outage. You would be provided notification about it. We'll talk about that here in a bit. So if severe weather threatens a portion of the electric system, it may be necessary for PG&E to turn off the electricity for the interest of public safety, and that's what a PSPS is called. The sole purpose of a PSPS is to reduce the risk of major wildfires during severe weather. It is a planned event. You will be notified. It's not something we do because there's a fire, it's something we do to avoid fire. With more than half of our area where our customers live and work now in the high fire threat areas, a PSPS is an important tool for us to keep those customers and communities safe. We carefully review a combination of criteria, which I'll talk to you about, when we determine if power should be turned off for this safety reason. We know the turning off of power can prevent wildfires, but we also understand that it disrupts lives and can include its own risks, particularly for those who need power for medical equipment. And we have a slide I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a bit. And that is why we want to work this year to focus on reducing the impacts on our customers and try to reduce the need for PSPS. We're learning from past events. This year we'll be making events even smaller. That's our goal, and shorter in length and smarter for our customers. PG&E's goal is to reduce the number of customers affected by each potential PSPS event by 1/3 compared to similar weather events that had occurred last year. So it's a big goal. We will restore customers twice as fast as was promised last year after severe weather has passed. Remember, we've got to wait for the weather to pass. By increasing the number of helicopters in our fleet, which will assist us with the restoration. And we're getting smarter by providing better information and resources to our customers and community before, during, and after the PSPS event. To make them smaller, we're going to install the 600 devices capable of redirecting power. So these are called line reclosers and sectionalizations. So that we can, instead of having to, if we see a weather pattern in a certain part of the grid, instead of having to take the power off for that whole circuit section, some of it might not actually be in the high fire threat area, we want to put a sectionalizing device in that part of the grid so that we only have to turn the power off for those customers in the high fire threat area, and those that are outside of the fire threat area will have not have to be exposed to the PSPS. So these are internal sort of switching systems that we're installing 600 of these throughout our system in the high fire threat areas, and limiting the size of the outage so that we can limit the size of the outages. We'll be installing microgrids. This is a program that we recently rolled out. I sent to the City Council some information about this maybe a month or so ago. It's going to be a program to assist with microgrids. And also we will be providing, in some instances, some areas for generation to keep lights on. And also, I talked to you about the potential for undergrounding already. As far as improving the length or shortening the length, we're going to be adding some PG&E crews, more PG&E crews to speed up inspections, because we can't just restore power. We have to inspect it before we restore it, because if there's any damage to it, we don't want to create a fire that we were lucky enough to avoid in the first place. I mentioned that we're expanding our helicopter fleet from 35 to 65, as well as commissioning 2 new airplanes for aerial inspections to help us in the more remote areas. Utilizing infrastructure equipment as well to inspect at night, which was a problem in the last year's events, where we weren't able to inspect at night, and so we had to delay restoration. Now we're using new equipment and technology so we can do the inspections at night as well. Then how about this part about making our customers smarter? We're going to provide accurate, timely, our goal is to provide accurate, timely communications and additional resources. We want to enhance meteorology technology to pinpoint where the severe weather is going to be better knowing where it's happening. We want to bolster the website capacity, which we have been doing. We want to improve customer alerts and notifications, upgrading customer resource centers, which I've talked to you about, improving coordination with local agencies and critical service providers, and to deliver more assistance before, during, and after PSP events. We plan to work with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers and with other community-based organizations to support customer medical needs. And I'll talk to you even more about that in a little bit here. And we want to make it easier for eligible customers to join and stay in our medical baseline program. So those customers that fall in, you can go to our website, you can learn about medical baseline program, and if you're an elderly person or a person with some medical needs, you can join this program, and it puts you into a more robust communications plan for us with respect to PSPSs. We also are expanding our in-language communication opportunities. Now, a PSPS isn't something that just happens without a lot of painstaking thought to turning people's power off. There are a number of factors that go into this decision, and so we'll carefully review a combination of these criteria to determine if the power needs to be turned off for safety. While there's no single factor driving a PSPS, these factors on this slide are typically the ones that rise to the top and have to be at play if we're going to be needing to call a PSPS. One of the first things we need to see is the red flag warning from the National Weather Service. We're going to have to see low humidity levels, generally 20% or below. Forecasted sustained winds, generally about 25 miles per hour, with gusts that might exceed up to 45 miles per hour. If we see those combinations happening with dry materials and ground cover that is really low in moisture. And then, of course, we'll have on-the-ground real-time observations checking these things in an area that we're predicting the weather is going to be coming through, so that we can have people, eyes on the ground, helping to relay more information than we're even gathering from the cameras and or weather stations. Once it's determined that there may be a PSPS, we're going to provide advance notice. We'll provide alerts to customers in advance. And remember, this is a planned outage, so we're going to be able to tell you that we predict this is going to happen. To give you time to put some of your electronics and some of your daily needs in a place where you can be planned for it as well. Our goal will be dependent on weather, is to send customer alerts 2 days ahead, then 1 day ahead, and then just prior to the power being shut off. And then throughout the outage, we would have automatic calls, texts, and emails to continue to provide information. Customers will also be notified once a day until their power has been restored. And to help reduce the risk of wildfire, we also want to enhance long-term safety. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't keep it on. This year, we're also planning customer update to provide more details earlier, including a window of estimated time of the shutoff and the restoration, when we expect it to be restored. We do expect to have restoration sooner than we were telling customers last year. We also will provide updates on pge.com/PSPS updates. So you can also go to that website and sign up to learn more. And following the outages in 2019, the PSPS in 2019, we immediately upgraded our website resources to withstand higher levels of traffic during a PSPS event. We had a lot of crashes, and of course that just created intense frustration to customers that were already frustrated. So we did not need to do that. So we're fixing that. This year we are bolstering website capacity by making several enhancements that enable the website to scale up as needed and to accommodate even larger PSP outages in the future. And these enhancements include increased memory and central processing units, configured PG&E servers to increase capacity. We're going to move the most heavily used PSPS functions to a cloud-based environment. and we're going to leverage a content delivery network to accelerate the delivery of website content. We're also developing backup servers and platforms for certain critical PSPS functions. We are also working on updating our website layout so that it's more intuitive for customers and get your information quicker. These are things that are underway and have already started to be rolled out as we enter the wildfire season. We also have instituted the watch notification scripts. So PG&E will send customers automated emails, texts, and phone calls in advance of the PSPS event if their area is under a watch. So you're going to start, if you're potentially going to be in an area, we're going to start to communicate with you. And in the past, our communication was not very thorough. It was more like we think something's going to happen, and there was no other real detail. So what we plan to do and what we're instituting now is much more information in these watch notifications. They're going to be sent 2 days ahead, 1 day ahead, and then during when possible. We're going to be informing. The information will also be available through local news and radio outlets. And we're going to also notice the estimated shutoff, and this is the important part, the estimated shutoff window time, which will include all the channels highlighted on the slide through email, text, and phone, as well as estimated times that we expect to restore. And that's something that we weren't able to really accommodate last time. This additional information for 2020 is a direct result of customer feedback. Once a PSPS has been determined that it will be called, the PSPS notification will then change from watch to warning. Again, as customers will be notified of the estimated window of the time we expect the power to be off, when we expect it to be restored, using also emails, texts, and automated phone calls. Power will remain off until the weather passes and the equipment has been inspected. And as referenced on previous slides, customers can expect daily updates until their power has been restored. So how does the restoration process work? After the weather has passed and it's safe to do so, our crews will visually inspect for damage and to ensure that the lines are safe to re-energize. We are seeking to cut restoration times in half, as I mentioned, and restore the power within 12 daylight hours. That's our goal. It's much quicker than we had told you in the past. However, remember, that's within 12 daylight hours after the severe weather has passed. In addition to the helicopters and the airplane fleet, I mentioned before, we're adding more PG&E crews to speed up inspections and utilizing multiple assistance from other utility companies to support PSPS as well. Now, I hinted about some of the customer things that we're doing, and I want to just give you, I know I'm probably running late, but I'm almost done, so please bear with me as I give you a little more of the important things we're doing to try to help make it more easier for our customers to navigate through this process. With respect to the community resource centers, during a PSPS event, PG&E will open a community resource center. So what is that? Our goal will be to set up and open a CRC as soon as possible after the start of the PSPS event is forecasted. If it's forecasted to last longer than 24 hours. Location and hours of operation will be posted on pge.com/PSPS updates. The website I gave you earlier, this is an all-purpose website for PSPS updates, so you might write that down and use it in the future if there is a PSPS event in the area. We will also reach out to customers in affected communities via social media, news, and radio. Please note, though, PG&E is adapting our approach to CRCs to reflect the COVID environment. We're planning to offer micro CRCs, so some of them might be smaller, open-air tents, or mobile CRCs, which could be just vans, our Sprinter vans, to get to an area and provide some assistance. some information, and to support hardened CRCs as well, whether they be indoors or outdoors, at physical locations where we can also have the proper distancing. Employees staffing the CRCs will take all necessary precautions, including wearing personal protective equipment, including facial coverings, metering attendance so that we don't overpack an area to ensure physical distancing, as well as providing and utilizing regular hand sanitizing and also of sanitizing services. Now, in addition, we want to support people with disabilities as well as our older adults. So we are partnering with, as I mentioned, the community-based organizations to assist customers with medical needs before, during, and after an event. This includes collaborating with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers through a grant program to support the disabled and aging community. We encourage customers interested in the program to visit their local independent living center or disabilitydisasteraccess.org is an email address you can use. Is a website you can use for more information. That's disabilitydisasteraccess.org. I believe it's written on this slide someplace. Yes, in the orange in the center, right. We are also identifying and promoting resources offered through PG&E's grants to CBOs, expanding availability of materials in sign language as well, providing more in-language communications to disabled and aging customers, and establishing an advisory group to identify the emergency preparedness needs of disabled and aging community and facilitate the joint development of solutions so that we can hear from that community exactly what their needs are instead of our trying to second guess what we think they need. And then also self-generation incentive programs. While turning off the power can prevent wildfires, it's also disruptive to lives and can include its own risks, particularly for those who need power for medical backup and independent living needs. As part of the Public Utility Commission's self-generation incentive program, PG&E administers incentives that can support customers that are on medical baseline programs and critical facilities to install permanent backup power solutions to help them stay safe during severe weather. Through this program, customers can extend electrical power during PSPS events by adding battery storage to their homes to support their emergency plans. And this program offers incentives that will be provided by the CPUC to cover up to 100% of the battery purchase. So it's really a great program for those that might be in need to explore. Customers in high fire threat areas who rely on electricity for critical, life-sustaining equipment or living in a qualified community and would be unable to purchase the battery on their own are able to receive this incentive. So for more information, check out www.pge.com/PSPS battery. PG&E is hosting a series of webinars. We had one for the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara County areas on July 29th already, for anyone who is interested in learning more. But we'll also have others coming up on August 12th and August 19th. For those that are interested, go to pge.com/wildfire webinar. You'll basically get this information again at those webinars, but you'll also have, the public will have more of an opportunity to ask questions as well in the online format. So to make sure customers receive alerts regarding safety outages, we're encouraging them to update their contact information. This is the same message I gave in the last year about asking our customers to update their contact information so that we have the latest on file. And And when we ask for that, we're asking for any means and all means of communication to them, whether it be cell numbers, landline numbers, email addresses, and or other social media monikers. We have also made additional wildfire preparedness tools available online through the weather and PSPS forecasting website, which you see here, the Backup Power webinar webpage, which you see here, our Safety Action Center, which is also listed here, and through Prepare for Power Down website as well. All of these can be very helpful to people to learn more about weather and preparing not just for PSPS, but for any unplanned outage and or major catastrophe or disaster, such as a major earthquake. You should be prepared. If you have a plan for a major earthquake, you will be prepared for PSPS. Due to COVID-19 shelter-at-home requirements and changing medical practitioner priorities, PG&E customers can self-certify their eligibility to enroll in the medical baseline program. A signature by a qualified medical practitioner is not required. It had been in the past. So that is something that we have changed. So we encourage those that might be eligible for that program to investigate it and sign up. Just another slide with some other websites of interesting information to assist, whether it be the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services or how to prepare for power down. And then with that, I just want to thank you for your time. I'm happy to entertain any questions the council may have. I don't know how you want to operate if there are any questions from the public, but you have this website and are welcome to post it to city page as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. This is Mayor Patino. Are there any questions from the council? Oh, Mr. Cordero has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Councilperson Mike Cordero. I'm wondering if this program is presented in Spanish so that our Spanish-speaking community can access this if they wanted to.
Councilmember Cordero, I don't present it in Spanish because I unfortunately do not know Spanish. But we do have this presentation in Spanish. I can get that and share it with you to also put it on the city website side by side with this. And if there are any requests for Spanish presentation, please make me aware of that or call the number on the page here and make that request and we will accommodate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Soto has a question.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is in regarding to, the prevention of wildfires. I know that you mentioned having in place, weather systems and programs and, using helicopters to go over your poles, but how are you keeping that? Are you able to, is PG&E able to keep data on every utility pole and transmission tower in its service territory?
Oh, yes, we have thank you for the question, very good question. We have a very robust inspection program that we maintain for all of our infrastructure. Whether it is a pole or the various pieces of equipment on a pole, such as transformers or the insulators, those pieces of equipment are on a regular routine inspection and maintenance program. They all vary, so there's not one answer I can give you for any one of them, but they all vary, and the different inspection teams will review those. In addition, and make repairs when necessary. And in addition, our vegetation management team does what we call routine inspections on a periodic basis, and then on a regular basis, and then what they call is enhanced inspections on a periodic basis. And because of the wildfire threat in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 areas, they've been doing a lot more of the enhanced vegetation management in those areas, so that we can know where the tree growth is and how close it's coming to our line. We monitor that so we can dispatch the crews to go and make those clearances. We also have, as I mentioned, those inspections, and those crews go out and make those repairs. So whether it's the line or all the pieces of equipment that you see on a pole, those are all inspected on a regular basis. They all have different timelines, but they are inspected, and those records are kept for PUC review when necessary.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Oh, Mr. Springer has a question for you.
I don't know if they'll be able to hear me from here. Can you
I
hear me
can't
all right?
quite hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Hopefully, keep talking.
A number of years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, we had a pretty significant power outage in this area. As you noted, we are near kind of the south boundary between PG&E and Edison, where we're from Solvang North. And the power outage was due to, as it was explained to me, power lines north of us that couldn't provide power south to where we're at, and we were without power for quite some time. We were contacted by PG&E a couple of years ago regarding a project to provide another high voltage transmission line, which was going to connect toward, I guess for better purpose, toward Kern County, toward McKittrick, to provide a secondary feed over toward the Central Coast. They were talking with us regarding a couple of other issues, but my understanding is that project has not moved forward. And my question is this, is when you noted that the city of Santa Maria is not necessarily in a high fire risk area, and you talk about the microgridding, but has there been projects put in place from PG&E that we will be able to be provided power service from multiple locations should there be an outage from the north?
That is a great question. Let me step back and remind people of the incident you're referring to. It was in 2013, sometime I think in the spring. PG&E experienced an extremely large disruption in the Morro Bay substation. That Morro Bay substation is a bit of the center of a spoke for all of our area. And when that disruption occurred, it put 150,000 customers out of power in San Luis Obispo, southern San Luis Obispo County, and northern Santa Barbara County. We've addressed the issues that occurred with respect to that, but a catastrophic event to our system in any way such as that again we could have a replay of that situation. Following that, CalISO, which manages the grid needs for the state, it's a type of a government agency, they determined that a new transmission line was warranted to bring power to the northern Santa Barbara County area that would support the growth needs in the Santa Maria Valley and regions thereabouts, that was separate from having to go through the substation in Morro Bay. That program is the one you're referring to. That is called the, name escapes me, I believe it's a Central Coast Power Connect, I believe. It would bring power from the Central Valley over to the Santa Maria Valley area and tie into the system, and it would be an excellent backfeed into the area. That program was put on hold by CalISO. PG&E does not get to make the determination whether we want to do it or not. It has to go through this government entity that makes that determination. Their reasonings at the time was that after further evaluation, that there was potentially not the growth needs in the Santa Maria Valley that would need it. My understanding is that that is still a program that is in play, but it is in what we call just a holding pattern. So at some point in the near future, I expect, although I haven't been told this, there may be this connection may be coming up for further discussion. And it may have to do with once Diablo Canyon goes offline, we may be able to use some of the untapped stranded resources from the 500 kV line that we will no longer be using as the conduit to bring that power to you. So it would come through the east part of San Luis Obispo County and then down to you. That's just a theory. But the idea of this additional conduit for power to Santa Maria Valley is something that is still talked about, but at this present time, it is not moving forward. You are correct about that. I would hope that when that time comes that we do see that matriculate back to the top of the list of things that Cal ISO is asking us to do, I will certainly be in front of the City Council as well as in front of the Board of Supervisors asking for their support and understanding of what that program is so that it could be successful. But thank you for that question. It's a very good question, and I don't think people understand the importance of that connection to help provide you with that sort of backup reliability.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Was that it, Mr. Springer?
Thank you. Not related to the PSPS, but seeing how you mentioned Diablo Canyon, do you have the most current timeline for when PG&E anticipates that going offline?
Oh, the offline deadline date will be in I don't know the exact month, but it will be in 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniels. We really appreciate this.
Thank you, Mayor Patino. Thank you, Council. Thank you, staff.
Thank you. The next item will be a report by the City Manager, Mr. Stillwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The next meeting of the City Council will be August 18th. We have a recognition for Lucy Perez, who's a graduate of the LISOS program. We want to recognize her work in the community with that program. We also have the Santa Maria Area Public Transit Agency Safety Plan for the Council's consideration. That's related to safety improvements related to the pandemic, so we can assure that we can run the bus operation, continue to run it safely, and have federal funding to support it. And we have the CDBG funding priorities for 2021 and 22, and the fourth quarter financial report, which will include much of the information you saw estimated in the budget at the end of June 30th, but we have further refined numbers, still not good numbers, but the fourth quarter numbers will be here for you to review as a report. That concludes my report.
Thank you. So the next item is the oral reports of council members, and Mr. Cordero, should we start with you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 29th, I listened to the PG&E webinar program regarding a lot of the same information. It's impressive to see what they have done and what they're trying to do in order to prevent these major fires. On the 23rd, I attended a Zoom meeting with United Way, and yesterday, the 30th, on the 30th, I received another test back from a COVID test, which was negative, and that's it for me.
So how many tests have you had so far?
I've had, this is my third one,
Okay.
and I just kind of been going because of meetings.
Oh, okay.
They're moderately uncomfortable, but they're not bad.
I would wait till I had symptoms. I hear bad things about it. Ms. Soto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, June 22nd, I stepped in for Mayor Pro Tem Cordero at the Venther Show. That was fun. And on Friday, it was one of those Fridays, I also attended a COVID meeting through the county. I just don't remember which Friday. And that's pretty much it. All of my reportable items, I believe, unless I attended something.
Ms. Warfield.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this past Saturday, I had the privilege of standing with Joanne Green, who was our former council member, as we all know, Willie Green. She had called me and asked me if I would stand in solidarity with her on the corner of Main and Broadway and pray and hold scripture. Well, we did that this past Saturday, and we had 5 other women that came along from different churches, And it was the most incredible hour we ever had. And I would just love if churches would get together and do that, because, you know, we got a lot of honks, a lot of thumbs up, and we got some looks that weren't very happy either. But it was so nice and so wonderful to be able to stand there and be able to do something positive without any kind of harm coming to anybody. And so we're hoping to do that again, and I would encourage all of us, you know, to go and do that, because I think it was just something nice to see and be a part of, and I look forward to doing it again. And Joanne Green, she's a very powerful woman of God. Her prayer is warrior, and she's just amazing, and we look forward to doing it again together.
Thank you. Dr. Moats.
Madam Mayor, I have no report.
Thank you. July 23rd, I did a legislative briefing, a call on the COVID-19, which I do weekly with all the mayors and supervisors, assembly people, Senate people from California, and Feinstein's office is always there. And so we just do a weekly update. The Friday, the July 24th, I did the Rick Blameyer show, where I want to give out information and update people what's going on in the city. July 26th, I did the CADCA mid-year virtual training. July 28th, both Mr. Stillwell and I met with Sylvia Bernard of the Good Samaritan Shelter and got an update on what was going on with the shelter. And thank goodness the Good Sam does the kind of work they do, and they're so professional at what they do. She could be teaching classes, I think, all over the U.S. on how to provide a good shelter for homeless. July 29th, I did a webinar on adapting your budget during COVID. And the 30th, I did the legislative briefing again on the COVID-19. On the 31st, with the chamber, Build Your Business Zoom meeting, and that was sort of interesting. It's just much different than the rest of the meetings I'm doing, but it has to do with here in Santa Maria and the business people and what they're doing to adapt. August 3rd, I did the Community Needs Workshop CDBG meeting, and I know Ms. Soto was on that. And this morning did the Ben Hayes Show and did the Next Elected Leaders Forum to address homelessness. And again, Ms. Soto was on that. Any other comments from the dais? Ms. Soto?
Madam Mayor, on Friday, August 7th, we are having a census caravan here in the city of Santa Maria. And we are meeting at the Four Square Church at 10 a.m. So any resident or council members who are interested in joining us, please do so. This is a way for us to engage community and ensure that people complete the census. And also, the bookmobile will be having its debut tomorrow. I believe it's leaving the Santa Maria Public Library around 11 a.m. and then going to multiple stops throughout the city. So I'm really excited to see that come to fruition.
I did forget to mention that Ms. Waterfield and I recognized a young woman that was on the Carrier Roosevelt, was home for, I don't know how long she's going to be home, 19 years old, a graduate of Pioneer High School. So we met at Rotary Centennial Park, and then we caravanned over to her home to wish her, welcome home, Santa Maria. And that was about it. Anyway.
Well, the reason I laugh at that, and I'll just embarrass us, because we were told to stay behind the fire trucks. And we did. When we decided we had passed our location that we were supposed to be, but we had decorated our car. And so we had a banner on the hood. And I said, Alice, we're going to drive really slow. Well, we did, but a little bit of just pressure against the wind opposite direction, and it kind of flew up a little bit, and then it flew up a lot. And it was a great day, but we got to honor that young lady, and she did mention that a chief on that Roosevelt had passed away, and she just really adored him, and 19 years old?
19 years old, and that's just going to make that her career. She's really excited about that.
And what a grown-up. Oh, my gosh, she was such a grown-up person. It was amazing.
Yeah.
She matured well.
If there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.